So every year about this same time, somebody messages me and they ask me, where can I go turkey hunting? I don't have a quota permit. I want to come to Florida, or I live in Florida and I want to go turkey hunting. Where can I go? And the first thing I have to ask them is, well, where do you live? And where do you want to go? What kind of habitat do you want? There's a huge amount of issues that come with those questions. But I'm going to try and field those questions for you tonight. I'm going to try and help you find a place where you too can go turkey hunting. And it's a great experience to be able to go out on public land and go turkey hunting and hear turkeys gobble and maybe take one home with you. So I'm gonna help you find a spot. But first, you need to think about getting a quota permit during the November, December hunting season is when they make the quota permits available. You need to be on your toes and check the brochure. Everything I'm going to tell you tonight, you need to go to the brochures for each and every management area and check the rules and regulations and the dates for all spring turkey hunts and quota permits. If you want to hunt in a better than average area, you'll need to get a quota permit. I want to show you something. I found this in the Withlacoochee State Forest. I hunt in the Withlacoochee State Forest. It's in the center of the state, and I found this hardy pot or hardy pot. I don't know how to say it. I think it's hardy pot, but these hardy pots are scattered throughout the southeast wherever you find longleaf pines. If you're out turkey hunting and you find a hardy pot like this one, well, then you found something. I keep all my turkey spurs and turkey legs and turkey beards in this one, and I put it on top of my mantle. This is a little piece of Florida history right here I'm holding in my hand. And what they did with these things is they got no hole in the bottom, so it's not for putting plants in. There's a hole here in this upper rim of the thing. What they did was they drove a spike into a longleaf pine tree. And then they hung that thing on that spike, and then they'd take a machete or an axe or a hatchet, and they would score the bark of the tree. And then the sap would pour out of the tree into the pot. Then maybe a week later or so, a worker would come by with a horse and a wagon, and they would have barrels on that wagon, and they would scrape out the sap and put it into that barrel. And maybe they might have 6 or 8 barrels in the back of that wagon. They spend all day down in that swamp, down in those woods with the rattlesnakes and the mosquitoes. And yeah, it was a tough life, right? Working out there, the overalls, you can see them now, back in the 1920s, maybe even sooner than that. I don't know. But down in the Green Swamp and the Richland Wildlife Management Area and the Ocala National Forest and the Osceola National Forest, all the way up the eastern seaboard, wherever they had longleaf pines, they had these containers, these pots, these hardy pots. Then they would take that wagon and they would ride to the refinery and refine it and turn it into turpentine. These things are all over the place, so if you find a complete one, even if you find chips, maybe you want to collect them up, you're allowed to take them home with you. It's kind of littered all over on the forest floor, and yeah, about the time I think I'm standing somewhere where no one else has ever stood, I look down and there's a hardy pot. So that's what that is. I hope you find one. So where can I go hunting? I've got a list here of all the management areas. Some that I like to hunt. Now, when it comes to quota permits and areas that do not require a quota permit, there is kind of a hot and cold issue with those. Kind of hot because I like it, and kind of cold because I don't. Cold because there's a lot of people hunt some of them, and hot because maybe it's so far away from an area that it doesn't get that much pressure to require a quota permit. So yeah, there's a kind of that push and pull with the quota permits. Okay, I like hunting quota permits. Quota permit area. I applied for a quota permit. I got it from the Ocala National Forest. What I don't like is the check stations. Check stations with hunters showing up to show their quota permit and get their little ticket. Yeah, I just don't like that, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't. You should. Some of those are great areas, and they want to limit, the state wants to limit the amount of hunters that go into that area, right? And so they have the check station, all right? I personally don't like the check station. I don't do too many check station hunts. I do half moon when I get a quota permit. I'll tolerate that, but that's about it. All right, so here are my picks for management areas that don't require a quota permit, or at least for the first few days they do, and then they don't. So I'm going to run it down for you. So here we go. First one is the Green Swamp East Unit after the first weekend. Now, I like the Green Swamp. It's attached to Rich Loam. Now, Rich Loam, I don't know why they do that. They got Rich Loam here, and they got the Green Swamp here. Rich Loam is the first 9 days, and Green Swamp is the first 2 days. Why not just make the whole thing just open to hunting, or put a quota permit for all first 9? Just make it all the same, but they don't. Green Swamp, you can hunt the Green Swamp. It's 50,000 acres in Polk County, Lake County, Sumter County, and it's a big area. Like I said, it's 50,000 acres. Same with Rich Loam. Rich Loam is 50,000 acres. Both combined, it's a pretty big area. And after the first 9 days, Rich Loam, you do not need a quota permit, and it is open for the duration of the season. Same with the Green Swamp. After the first weekend, you can hunt it all you want. It's open for the duration of the season. I like these areas because they're big, they're vast, lots of access, lots of roads, lots of trails that you can wander and listen for a gobbling turkey, okay? A lot of opportunity for you to get off by yourself, right? And I promise you, there's a bird in there somewhere, okay? All right, so those are the first two. Number 3 is Jumper Creek. Now, I hunt Jumper Creek from time to time. Let's talk about Jumper Creek for a minute. Jumper Creek is a 10,000 acre management area on the Withlacoochee State Forest. I'm sorry, on the Withlacoochee River in the Withlacoochee State Forest. And there are 4 or 5 parking areas on that 10,000 acres with just a limited amount of trails that go down to areas where turkeys might be roosted. So here's the thing. If you go on opening weekend, there are going to be other hunters there. You'll pull into, if you get there 30 minutes before daylight, thinking you're going to walk down there, you're going to come to the parking area and there's going to be 6 or 8 vehicles parked there. There's going to be people going down there at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're not going to beat those people down there. So I know that going in when I get there, okay? You should know, and don't be disappointed. You know, I got a saying, I don't like headlights behind me and tail lights in front of me when I'm going hunting. I don't want to see other hunters going to the same place I'm going, and that's kind of the experience I have when I go to Jumper Creek. I'll go to Jumper Creek after opening weekend, during the week, maybe a weekend, maybe 2 weeks in, maybe 3 weeks in, and hunt it then. When the new has wore off of the season and things are kind of settled down a little bit. Here's another thing about Jumper Creek, that it's surrounded by private land. I know you've heard me say this before, that people that live there kind of have animals coming into their areas, and they got feeders set up and cow pastures and food plots, and the turkeys come in, and yeah, they're hemmed up around the area. Same with the deer, but sooner or later those deer and those turkeys, well, they move out of those areas and they'll move into Jumper Creek. All you need is for a couple of gobblers to fly over the river, and yeah, they're making their way through that swamp and nobody's there, and they're gobbling, and yeah, they're looking for hens, okay? So that's Jumper Creek. Birds can move in anytime. You can go in on tomorrow and hear no gobblers, and then go in 3 or 4 days later and suddenly they're in there. So yeah, it takes a local guy that can get there quick and hunt in the morning and see if there are any birds gobbling, and then he'll go on to work. That's probably the best case scenario. I've done that many times. All right, so my next choice is one of my favorite places to go turkey hunting. You will not need a quota permit for the Osceola National Forest. I like the Osceola National Forest. It's big with lots of opportunity. It's got birds, but the Osceola Forest does not have any Osceola turkeys. It's way up at the north end of the state, up by Interstate 10, and yeah, I like hunting there. You can camp there. I love to go up there and camp and go turkey hunting. And there are birds there. There's always birds there. And yeah, it's as good as it ever was. You just got to find them, okay? You may go a couple of days without hearing a bird gobble, but when you get in them, you'll know it, okay? All right, the next choice would be Big Cypress. Now, Big Cypress has several units. If you're hunting in the addition unit, you need a quota permit. If you're hunting in the bear unit, you need a quota permit, but you don't need it for the balance of the area. The area is 728,000 acres, okay? That's almost twice as big as the Ocala National Forest, and the Ocala National Forest is pretty big, right? So that's a big area. So you won't need a quota permit if you hunt the Big Cypress, okay? All right, so here's another one, Lake Monroe. You don't need a quota permit for Lake Monroe. Lockaloosa near Gainesville, just west of Gainesville, you don't need a quota permit for that. That's a pretty big management area too. And yeah, reliable flock of turkeys there. And Santa Fe Swamp, you don't need a quota permit. Upper St. John's Marsh is on the east coast of Florida. It's a pretty long, pretty big, long management area, and there are birds there. Mallory Swamp is big. The funny thing about Mallory Swamp, they've got 2 seasons in there. They've got from the 18th of March to the 2nd of April, and then the 8th to the 23rd. I don't know why they do that, but they do, okay? And then Kissimmee chain of lakes is also requires, and of course that's down in Kissimmee. Now, if you want to kill an Osceola, if killing an Osceola is important to you, that is, you don't want to come to Florida unless you kill an Osceola, I would avoid north with Lacoochee State Forest. I would avoid that area. Anywhere north of that, I would avoid. And I would hunt places like Kissimmee. I would Green Swamp, east. Anything north of that, Richland probably has Osceolas in it. But yeah, I've hunted Jumper Creek, and I've killed birds near there, not in the management area itself, but very near there that were not even close to being Osceolas. So just be warned. Look, I really don't care whether I kill an Osceola or an Eastern. All I care is that I can go turkey hunting and that I can go whenever I want. I don't want to hang my hat on a 3-day quota permit. This is why I promote hunting areas that don't require a quota permit. I like hunting big areas, all right? I'm going to the Ocala National Forest, and when I'm done with that, I can go no more. I can't build upon my experience. But if I go to the Green Swamp, I can go over and over and over again, and I can build upon my experience. And same with Richland. I can grow and discover new things, and then go back and go deer hunting. Yeah, that's huge, right? If you get a quota permit for Half Moon, well, you can't. It's just hard because you want to go back and go deer hunting, but now you got to wait another 3 years to apply for points and all of that. Yeah, I'm going to continue to apply for quota permits, but if you don't have a quota permit, don't let that stop you from going out and going turkey hunting, okay? It's a great experience. Now, just be advised that if you go turkey hunting in Florida, that most of the Florida management areas that I've listed here are pretty wild. There's a very good chance that you'll run into water moccasins. There's a good chance that you might run into a 10-foot alligator. You'll see wild hogs. You need to be on your toes and self-aware of where you are all the time, because if you go into a place like Jumper Creek now, it's got a trail that goes, one goes this way and one goes that way. If you get off that trail, it's very easily to get turned around. That trail kind of comes down in there and it kind of dead ends. And if you just venture off down into that Cabbage Palm Swamp, and then you turn around to try and find your way back to the point of entry, and then you haven't marked it on your GPS, or you're not sure where you are, you get down in there, and some of these people have hung flagging tapes everywhere, and you don't know whether they're coming or going. It's very easily get confused, all right, and get turned around, and can cost you a lot of headache and time, and yeah, sweat and hot and snakes and all of that. Yet it's not an enjoyable, all of a sudden it's not an enjoyable hunt. Suddenly your hunt has become in peril, and I don't want that for you. I want y'all to be safe. So take your GPS, mark it, keep your wits about you. Sometimes I use the GPS, sometimes I feel like I don't have to. Sometimes I'm just going down there and I'm not even going to get off the trail. I'm just going to walk all the way to the bottom of it, real slow, quiet, listen, and make my way back. Okay, so that's where can I go turkey hunting without a quota permit. So this weekend I'm going to be at Pat's Pawn and Gun. Now Darren at Pat's Pawn and Gun likes to have a little turkey event, and I'm always invited to go, and I plan on being there this weekend if you guys want to come and visit. Now Chad Hodge is a pro staffer for Quaker Boy, and he has much knowledge on turkey hunting, duck hunting. He's there free of charge. He carries a lot of their products, and is very informed on how to use them. You can learn a lot from a guy named Chad. Also, Spring King Calls, Kevin Vaughn will be there with his calls and sharing his knowledge, public land hunting. Of course, you saw the video I made with Kevin, and he's a great guy. Come on in and see him. Come say hello. I'll be there, and peddling my books. I'll have my little table set up. It's not a big venue. It's pretty small, but I'd love to see you, meet you, and shake your hand. All right. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. See you. Bye.